First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
What is going on, folks? Happy Friday to you. Welcome in to our daily 4 o'clock stream here on First Coast News Plus. I'm meteorologist Ross Mummah. Hopefully, your last day of the work week has been going well, that you're soon going to be ready for the weekend here very, very shortly. But yet again, another very hot and humid day. And we're going to be watching for the chance for some thunderstorms as well. We've already seen several across the area. But there is the potential for further thunderstorm development here over the next couple of hours as we head into your Friday evening. So this is just showing you a quick look at the visible satellite imagery. You can see that Gulf Coast sea breeze working its way in from the west, and then multiple different outflow boundaries pushing out and away from some of the thunderstorms that have already developed out there across the First Coast so far. So where are the storms at? Well, most of them across southeast Georgia. That's kind of where we were expecting a lot of the activity to be here today, and also out towards I-75. So pretty much from Valdosta down to the far northern extent of Suwannee County. That's really where there's a pretty strong line of thunderstorms. That's going to be making its way further eastward into Clinch, northern Columbia County, Ware, and Charlton County here over the next couple of hours. And then specifically for the Jacksonville metro area, have some isolated storms on the west side moving through far southwestern Nassau County, western Duval, Clay County having some pop-up storms similar for northern Putnam. And St. Johns County already had a nice, heavy rain shower move through earlier this afternoon. But further off to the north, very unstable air mass. There's a slightly more moisture across southeastern Georgia aloft in the atmosphere than there is in northeast Florida. So some stronger moisture, winds slightly a little bit stronger up there as well. Just some overall much more unstable air mass, allowing for a few stronger to now severe thunderstorms to ignite. So there is a severe thunderstorm warning for Appling and Wayne counties there until 4:15. So of course this is not in our area, but this is just to the north, or northwest I should say, of Jessup. So I believe I have a camera pulled in here of what it looks like there. This is a camera just west of Jessup, trying to give you a look at what the skies look like out there in southeastern Georgia here on this Friday, 4:04. Stormy, cloudy for those folks. We've had a few downpours here downtown already. And we could potentially see more of that here over the next couple of hours. But I now see the sun is back out and shining outside. At least for those folks in southeastern Georgia, these storms have begun to weaken a little bit. And they'll often do this during this time of the year. We call these, they pulse thunderstorms, where they will grow and intensify. And then as the downdraft develops, you get a lot of sinking rain-cooled air dropping down, then the storm essentially collapses, and at times they can pulse back up on the leading edge of that storm. So that's kind of what's happening a little bit further north there up towards Jessup. Elsewhere across Glenn and Camden counties, some thunderstorms, the worst of which have pretty much already moved through. So yes, are you still seeing some lightning, hearing some thunder? Of course. Hopefully you're heeding caution. I hope you're not outside at all with some of these lightning strikes, especially with some of the news coming out of Ware County here today. 2 fatalities reported due to lightning in Ware County last night. And of course, we'll have a lot more on that in our newscast on First Coast News at 5 o'clock. But otherwise, still seeing some scattered thunderstorms across those areas. Oh, and look at that. So new severe thunderstorm warning just got issued for Duval County. Let me look and see the specifics on this here. So they issued this for 60-mile-per-hour wind and up to 1 inch in diameter sized hail, which would be quarter-sized hail. So this runs from now until 4:30. So this is going to run for another 25 minutes. So this includes Oakleaf, Riverside, Ortega. I'm trying to think what other locations. Essentially just the western sides of the 295 Beltway, all included in this. And again, this goes until 4:30 for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-sized hail. So a pretty strong storm moving into the west sides of downtown. I mentioned, we had just seen that brief downpour moving through downtown a couple of minutes ago. That's now starting to move out towards Beach Boulevard and the east sides of the 295 Beltway. So if you live out at the beaches, pretty much from Mayport down to Atlantic Beach, Jacksonville Beach. This storm is going to be headed your way here very shortly. But for everyone who essentially lives either on Jacksonville's west side or in downtown, we now do have that severe warned storm making its way towards you here very, very shortly. So we'll check back in on that here in just a little bit. Elsewhere, a little bit further south, Flagler County coming up from Pearson has an isolated thunderstorm. A few other just isolated downpours kind of meandering around there on the eastern sides of the St. Johns River in far eastern Putnam County, Clay County as well, seeing some over towards Keystone Heights and just to the northwest of Interlochen, seeing a little bit of some thunderstorm activity. Looks like those are beginning to diminish just a hair. And we'll see this, as I said, they'll pulse up, they'll strengthen for a hair, they'll rain themselves out and begin to diminish. And I do, really expect that's kind of what's occurring in this line of storms now making its way into the west sides of Duval. And I also just want to, emphasize as well on the storms that are not included in the severe thunderstorm warning. So the storms north of I-10 riding right along Highway 301, pretty much from Baldwin up to almost where Callahan is. These storms also quite strong, 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts are going to be possible in those storms. So if you live over near Biscayne or Duval Road up towards the airport, that northwestern portion of the 295 Beltway and the northwest sides of Duval County, some strong storms headed your way. So similar story for Pecan Park, Ocean Way. These storms are going to be headed your way here shortly. Italia, Yulee even. Those storms on the northwestern extent of this severe warning storm also going to be be headed off to the east and northeast here over about the next 30 minutes or so. Now, I'm trying to see how quickly this is moving. At about 15 miles per hour to the east. Yeah, so that's certainly enough to toss some things around out there on your patio to cause some damage or to cause power outages. So certainly take this storm seriously, especially now that we're going to be reporting on that lightning fatality in Ware County from last night. Take the lightning seriously. These strong thunderstorms can sometimes do just as much damage as an EF0 tornado at times. So take it seriously. And again, this is really for Duval County and northern Clay County from now until 4:30. So we'll check back in on that here in a little bit. Elsewhere, I mentioned those storms that were moving through the I-75 corridor from Valdosta down to Jasper. That will slowly be making its way further east, becoming fairly outflow dominant. You can see that just kind of narrow green line out ahead of those thunderstorms. So that's the gust front, those outflow winds surging ahead of the overall line of thunderstorms. That'll be making its way into the northern part of Suwannee County, Columbia, and then the Okefenokee here over about the next hour or two. Temperature-wise, though, if you haven't had any thunderstorms yet, still quite warm. 93 up at the airport right now in Jacksonville. Elsewhere, though, Brunswick, St. Simon's Island, much cooler thanks to those showers and thunderstorms that you folks have already seen in the low 80s and even the upper 70s. So a large batch of variety here today. 95 currently in Palatka. And then when you factor in the humidity, it feels like 101 down there in Putnam County. Similar story in Gainesville. Not the worst heat indices we've seen this week, although, wow, Waycross showing a heat index of 111. So temperature of 89, but a real feel of 111. So my guess there is they've gotten some sort of moisture influx or advection from some of the thunderstorms around them, that heat index and real field temperature has just surged. Wow, 111 real field temperature in Waycross. That is pretty incredible. That really just goes to show there is incredible amounts of heat and moisture and energy available for thunderstorms to feed off of. So although we do have that severe warned storm in Duval and Clay County, the heat across southeast Georgia, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, it is a very unstable air mass. That's going to give rise to some stronger thunderstorms today. If I had to choose a location across the First Coast that was going to produce strong to severe storms, I would certainly say Ware, Charlton, Pierce, and Brantley counties are probably the hotbed for where the greatest amount of energy and instability is currently at. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. And of course, we'll be on your side here, tracking through the rest of this evening. Here's what high-res Futurecast is trying to show you here through the rest of tonight. So by 5:30, the severe warned storm and the rest of those thunderstorms across the western sides of the Jax Metro right now They will have either passed over I-95 or be right over the beaches within about the next hour, hour and a half. And still some of those scattered thunderstorms up across southeastern Georgia. This shows a little bit of some further activity down across some of our more southern counties. So Putnam, southern St. John's, Flagler could still see some rain activity there. But I do expect there to potentially be some lingering showers after sunset, but by 11 o'clock tonight, pretty much all the rain will have tapered off after that point. So, strong thunderstorms here for, I would say, about the next 4 hours or so. That's still in that window for some strong to severe storms. And then after that, still some rain chances, but pretty much everything drying out after midnight tonight. Then we fast forward to your Saturday tomorrow. Thanks to some slightly drier air, our overall rain chance is not going to be nearly as high. So could you still see a quick downpour producing some heavy rain? Certainly so, but the vast majority of us are not going to be seeing that. So they're going to be a little bit more sparse, almost like, popcorn thunderstorms out there tomorrow. So they'll start early afternoon. They'll grow in coverage as you get later into the afternoon. So 4, 5, 6 o'clock, that'll really be your best chance to see, a few isolated storms, but only expecting about a 40 to perhaps 50% coverage area for those thunderstorms tomorrow. So at least for tonight, we're still rocking with the storms through 8 o'clock, like I said, and then drying skies after 11 here tonight. But as we do head into the weekend, how much rain could you actually see? Well, through tomorrow, some locations, again, if you do happen to get into one of those heavy downpours or perhaps an isolated stronger thunderstorm, could definitely pick up anywhere from 1 to 1.5 inches of rain. The good news is that these storms are going to be, moving anywhere from 10 to 15 miles per hour, just like they are right now. That's still going to be the same trend for tomorrow. On Wednesday, storms were not moving at all. They were near stationary, and that's why we just had several inches, 2, 3, 4 inches of rain dumped down onto one location because the steering flow wasn't pushing those storms anyway. Different story here this weekend. Much more of a steering flow out of the west. So overall, we're not going to see nearly as high of rainfall totals. But key takeaway, some locations could pick up 1 to 2 inches. Others, if you don't happen to see any rain, a minimal amount will be on the way for both Saturday and Sunday. So there's just some model data showing what could occur with regards to some rainfall totals over the next 2 days or 48 hours. But otherwise, isolated storms for your Saturday. The heat and the humidity, man, it is going to be muggy, almost feeling like a sauna out there. And I think that's what I do have put on here for perhaps Sunday. Just incredibly humid. And that's what Waycross is experiencing right now. All of us are going to be feeling that tomorrow. So although tomorrow might be the driest day of the weekend, might not be the best day to try to get outside and enjoy it. So if you have outdoor plans, try and do it in the morning. I know on Sunday, my girlfriend and I were planning on going to the beach, but we're probably going to head home, around lunchtime or so, just because we don't want to be out there in the peak of the heat, firstly, and secondly, pretty much after 1 or 2 o'clock, you're going to be, rolling the dice on whether you get a thunderstorm or a shower to roll on in. So heat indices tomorrow, pretty high up there, anywhere from 100 to 106, even 107 in some locations, especially in locations like Mayport and those along the St. Johns River. So if you're spending any extended time outdoors, exerting yourself at all, hydrate. The heat and humidity take it out of you much quicker than you think it will. But with regards to tomorrow, a little bit closer of a look here, hour by hour wise. First half of the day, dry skies. I'm not expecting any rain before lunchtime. So 0% coverage or chance of rain until after noon. Then 1 o'clock, those chances begin to increase. And as I said, late afternoon, early evening, we'll begin to see the chance for some of those thunderstorms. So if I had to choose a day to probably go to the beach, tomorrow would be it. Sunday, a slightly better chance for some showers and thunderstorms. But whether you're at an inland location or you're at the beach and you're actually getting a little bit of a breeze off the ocean, it's still going to feel, pretty sultry out there. Not the nicest feeling weekend across the First Coast. And water temperatures or surf temperatures, they're somewhere between 81, 82 degrees, even 83 in some locations. So the water's starting to get up there that you get in and you're like, okay, the water's wet, not necessarily cooling me off all that much. It still will, but, we're getting to that point in the year that the water temperatures are starting to get quite warm. That's starting to feel a little bit more like bath water than pool water, so to speak. So the humidity, the heat, it continues into Sunday. As I mentioned, a slightly better chance for some rain and thunderstorms on Saturday afternoon and evening. We're putting chances for storms at about 60% for both Sunday, and then continuing into Monday. There it is. Feels like a sauna. Some afternoon thunderstorms there as you head into early next week. And we're keeping temperatures generally in the mid-90s through the start of next week. Now, you'll take note by Tuesday and Wednesday, those temperatures are going to dip down a little bit. That's because we are going to have some changes in the forecast. A low pressure system, a surface low that will likely develop off to our east, is going to retrograde back west or slide westward over the Florida Peninsula and then eventually off to our west into the northern Gulf, and will really just enhance our rain and thunderstorm chances. But in doing so, and with a greater coverage of rain and cloud cover, that will lower our temperatures just a little bit. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, I mean, Saturday, 40% chance of rain. Sunday through next Friday, at least a 60% chance. Once we get really into the weekend, we'll probably be able to fine tune a little bit better, specifically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If I had to choose, a couple days that look to be the rainiest or, potentially weather impact alert threshold days, which is 70% or higher, or we're in, a significant severe weather risk. Not expecting, significant severe weather next week, but it does look like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday could be very, very rainy and stormy. So we'll keep you up to date on whether we issue that weather impact alert next week. And this is really what's going to be transpiring. So over the weekend, very weak cold front's going to drop in across the Ohio River Valley. Kentucky, Tennessee, the Carolinas, northern Georgia, and will eventually make its way down towards the coast, Atlantic and Gulf, by early next week. As it pretty much just degrades, it essentially just kind of forms into an elongated area of low pressure, what we call a trough. So a surface trough is expected to pretty much form from that cold front, or decaying cold front, maybe might be a better word, decaying, right along the Atlantic coast and across the northern Gulf. From that surface trough, we're going to expect an increase in low-level moisture, and that's really just, again, going to enhance our rain and thunderstorm chances into the middle to latter portions of next week. Really Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we'll watch into Friday. So that low pressure system forming along that trough going to slide over the first coast and going to bring us some more rain chances. Here's another way to look at it. Talking about the atmospheric spin and energy in the air. So if you look right out towards like southern Alabama, far western Florida, this is circulation about 10 to 30,000 feet aloft in the atmosphere, high pressure over off to our west. But to our east, and specifically southeast in the upper levels, a decent amount of spin there shown in the bright pinks and red. So I fast forward it Tuesday into Wednesday. You can see South Florida, that upper level low is going to be over the southern part of Florida, but plenty of atmospheric spin and energy essentially coming over Florida throughout the day on Tuesday, throughout Wednesday, and continuing into Thursday. If you didn't necessarily be able to, if you couldn't visualize it great that way, here's another one. So this is the precipitable water content, or just atmospheric moisture totals or amounts. Some very dark green colors coming in, even some, splotches of orange, I think do pop up here. So we're going to be talking, PWatt values above 2 inches. What does that mean? When it does rain, you're going to have the chance to see rainfall rates anywhere from, they could be 2 inches per hour, could be 3 to 4 inches per hour. If it happened to sit over top of you and continue to rain, that's how much moisture is going to be in the atmosphere. So is that going to happen for everyone? No. But with the amount of rain we've seen this week, especially in some of our more urban locations, San Marco is a great example. St. Simons is also a fantastic example from last evening. They unfortunately had to deal with flooding. That is also going to be a concern as we head into next week. Also may be why we have to issue some weather impact alerts as we head into next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So the forecast is not to that point yet, but I think we're getting very, very close to it and approaching it here very, very soon. How much rain could we see? Again, it's going to be dependent on where some of those thunderstorms roll in. This averages out over the entire area, this model is. So in, the average will be anywhere from about 1 to 2.5 inches of rain across the whole area. But certainly there's going to be some locations that see less than that, and there's definitely going to be locations that see well over 2 inches of rain by the time we get to next Wednesday afternoon, especially along the Gulf Coast and the I-75 corridor. But at least on the tropical frontier, the tropics remain quiet. The National Hurricane Center are not expecting any tropical formation from that surface low that is going to pass over, the first coast. But if it did, in some location or in some instances, I should say, especially in August and September, if that surface low did pass over us and was in the northern Gulf and turned into, a strong thunder or a strong tropical system, we would be on the dirty side of the storm. Very similar to what Hurricane Debbie brought us and what Hurricane Helene brought us last year. We were in that northeastern quadrant of the storm. The dirtier side, you typically get the stronger winds, the heavier rain, and a heightened chance of tornadoes. So I think we got a little story here for you on the dirty side of a hurricane or a tropical system, and we'll give you a little bit more here on that right now.
The dirty side of a storm refers to the area of a hurricane or tropical system where you'll find the highest winds, highest storm surge, and the greatest tornado threat. So what side of the storm is that? Well, generally, it's the northeast side of the storm, or more simply put, the right side of the storm. But it also depends on which direction the storm is moving. If it's traveling in a northern direction, the dirty side will be more on the direct right-hand or eastern side. If the storm is traveling in a more western direction, the dirty side will be more on top of it. So what makes it so dirty? It's all about the wind direction and a little math. For example, if a storm is moving north at 30 miles per hour and has wind speeds of 100 miles per hour, then the storm will produce winds of 130 miles per hour on the right dirty side. While on the left side, winds move in the opposite direction of the storm's movement, so they'll be slower at about 70 miles an hour. It's important to remember, though, as the storm grows stronger, every side becomes dangerous. Meteorologist Lee Southwick, First Coast News on your side.
So some great information there as we, get into the deeper part of hurricane season. And I want to give you an update. I said we would check back on that severe warned storm moving into the west sides of the metro that has weakened and come down in strength. So the National Weather Service has just put out a special weather statement on that portion of the storm. They canceled the severe thunderstorm warning. So I want to read to you what the special weather statement is for wind gusts of about 40 miles per hour. So it looks like that storm core has come down right near Oakleaf and moving kind of towards the Avondale area here right now. So generally speaking, still some strong storms moving into the metro, especially, up by the airport too. That storm seems to have grown in strength quite a bit. So Pecan Park, the airport, Yulee, Ocean Way, First Coast High School areas, you're going to be seeing some strong thunderstorms. Similar story for those of you who do live on Jacksonville's southwest sides, down towards Oakleaf, and now also from Green Cove Springs into the Julington Creek area, Mandarin, Bay Meadows, Deerwood, St. John's Town Center, all those locations kind of on the south sides in northern St. Johns County, Nocatee and Durban. This is also going to be headed your way here very soon. Some stronger thunderstorms producing some pretty heavy rainfall there as well. I want to give you a quick look at the 7-day before we go, since I was going to stay on if we had any severe thunderstorm warnings, but thankfully we don't. So here it is, folks. 40% of rain and storms tomorrow, and then 60% every day next week, especially starting on, I'm going to say Tuesday. Yes, Monday we're still going to have some scattered thunderstorms, but Tuesday through the end of the week, heightened chances for rain and thunderstorms, potentially seeing some very heavy rain. We'll have much more on the rain chances and potential, flooding concerns as we get more data in and we fine-tune that forecast here over the next couple of days. But as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in here. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a fantastic weekend. I'm Meteorologist Ross Mummah. Take care, folks.